The summer of 2025 will be remembered by many across the UK not just for the warm weather, but for the extraordinary scenes of ladybirds appearing in their thousands. From a disrupted cricket match, England vs India Test at Lord's, where play was briefly halted as clouds of ladybirds swarmed the pitch and made the field almost unplayable, to gardens seemingly alive with the spotted beetles, reports of these swarms of loveliness captured public attention throughout the season. For pest control professionals and ecologists, these mass appearances represented far more than a curiosity. They offered a fascinating glimpse into the complex dynamics of Britain's ecosystems. Ladybirds hold a special place in British wildlife. These charismatic beetles are not only beloved garden visitors but also highly effective natural pest controllers, with a single ladybird capable of consuming thousands of aphids during its lifetime. As beneficial insects, their population health serves as a valuable indicator of broader ecosystem functioning. In the UK, the native seven-spot ladybird and two-spot ladybird have historically been our most familiar species, though in recent decades they've faced increasing competition from the invasive harlequin ladybird, which arrived in Britain in 2004. Why are there so many ladybirds in 2025? Throughout the summer months, citizen scientists, entomologists, and the general public reported unusually high concentrations of ladybirds across much of the UK. One particularly memorable incident saw a county cricket match temporarily disrupted as players and spectators found themselves surrounded by thousands of the insects seeking shelter. Garden centres fielded numerous inquiries from concerned homeowners discovering clusters of ladybirds on windows, walls, and outdoor furniture. Experts monitoring insect populations confirmed what the public was experiencing firsthand. Analysis of citizen science data revealed very high numbers across England, Wales, and Scotland, with concentrations particularly notable in southern and central England. These observations represented not merely a localized phenomenon but a genuine population boom across multiple species. The driving forces behind this explosion in numbers were relatively straightforward: ideal weather conditions coinciding with an abundance of their primary food source. The warm spring and early summer of 2025 created perfect conditions for aphid populations to flourish, and where aphids thrive, ladybirds inevitably follow. For adult ladybirds emerging from winter dormancy and their rapidly developing larvae, the combination of warmth and plentiful prey created optimal breeding conditions. What causes ladybird population booms in the UK? How weather affects ladybird numbers. Temperature plays a crucial role in insect population dynamics, and 2025's weather patterns aligned perfectly for ladybird success. The warm spring accelerated insect metabolism, enabling ladybirds to become active earlier in the season and begin breeding sooner. Higher temperatures also speed up larval development, allowing young ladybirds to mature more quickly and potentially produce additional generations within the same season. Equally important was the relatively mild winter preceding the boom. Ladybirds overwinter as adults, typically clustering in sheltered locations such as window frames, sheds, and bark crevices. Harsh winter conditions can cause significant mortality during this vulnerable period, but the milder temperatures of late 2024 and early 2025 allowed more adults to survive through to spring, providing a larger breeding population to kickstart the season. The role of aphids in ladybird population growth. At the heart of any ladybird population boom lies a simple equation: more food equals more ladybirds. Aphids, the primary prey for most British ladybird species, are themselves highly responsive to warm weather. Their rapid reproduction rates. Aphids can produce live young without mating and may complete multiple generations per month. Mean populations can explode when conditions are favorable. The warm, settled weather of spring and early summer 2025 triggered exactly such an aphid outbreak. Gardens, agricultural land, and wild spaces saw heavy infestations across a wide range of plant species. For ladybirds, both adults and the voracious larvae that can consume hundreds of aphids before pupating, this represented an almost unlimited food supply. Well-fed female ladybirds produce more eggs, and those eggs develop into larvae with high survival rates when prey is plentiful, creating a positive feedback loop that drives population numbers upward. How climate change extends ladybird breeding seasons. The extended period of warm weather in 2025 meant that ladybirds remained active well into autumn, significantly lengthening the breeding season. Under typical British conditions, ladybirds might manage 1 or 2 generations per year. However, the 2025 season's warmth and duration potentially allowed for additional generations, particularly for faster developing species. In 2025, the UK's gardens became living laboratories of evolution. This extended activity period amplified the population boom, with each successive generation adding to overall numbers. Late-season aphid availability on autumn crops and garden plants provided continued sustenance, allowing these later generations to build up the fat reserves necessary for successful overwintering. The impact of citizen science on ladybird recording. While the 2025 boom was undoubtedly real, the scale of reporting also reflects the growing engagement of the British public with wildlife monitoring. Schemes such as the UK Ladybird Survey have successfully mobilised thousands of citizen scientists, making it easier than ever to report sightings through smartphone apps and online platforms. This increased awareness means that population booms are now more thoroughly documented than they might have been in previous decades. The visibility of ladybirds, their bright colors and tendency to aggregate in obvious locations makes them ideal subjects for citizen science, and the 2025 boom benefited from this enhanced observation network. Will ladybird numbers stay high in future years? Why ladybird booms could become more common. Climate projections for the UK suggest that the conditions that created the 2025 boom may become more common. Warming trends are expected to bring milder winters and warmer springs, potentially creating regular opportunities for ladybird population explosions. Research has demonstrated clear links between temperature increases, aphid population dynamics, and subsequent ladybird responses. Experimental studies warming plant communities have shown that when aphid populations surge in response to higher temperatures, ladybird predation initially lags behind prey growth, allowing both populations to reach unusually high densities. If climate change delivers more frequent warm, aphid-rich springs, we may see more years resembling 2025. The harlequin ladybird, despite its invasive status, appears particularly well adapted to exploit these conditions. Its larger size, higher reproductive rate, and broader prey range mean it responds especially effectively to prey booms, potentially driving even larger population spikes than native species achieve. Threats to long-term ladybird populations. However, several factors suggest caution before declaring an era of perpetual ladybird abundance. The arrival and spread of the harlequin ladybird has fundamentally altered the competitive landscape for British ladybirds. This Asian species not only outcompetes native ladybirds for food but also directly preys upon their eggs and larvae. Long-term monitoring data shows that many native ladybird populations have declined significantly since the harlequin's establishment, with the two-spot ladybird particularly hard hit. Habitat loss continues to erode the landscape features that support diverse ladybird populations. Hedgerows, wildflower meadows, and traditional agricultural margins provide crucial overwintering sites and breeding habitats. Their ongoing reduction, combined with widespread pesticide use in agriculture and horticulture, creates persistent pressure on ladybird populations regardless of weather conditions. Furthermore, insect populations naturally fluctuate from year to year in response to complex ecological factors. Boom years are often followed by crashes as predator populations overshoot prey availability, diseases spread more readily in dense populations, or weather conditions swing in less favorable directions. The 2025 boom, spectacular as it was, fits within this pattern of natural variability. Are native UK ladybirds in decline? Long-term monitoring programs paint a more nuanced picture than the 2025 boom alone might suggest. Data collected since the harlequin ladybird's arrival in 2004 shows clear declines in several native species, particularly the two-spot ladybird, which has experienced dramatic population reductions across much of its former range. The seven-spot ladybird, Britain's largest native species, has proven relatively resilient, maintaining stable populations in many areas despite harlequin competition. Its larger size and preference for open habitats may provide some competitive advantage. However, smaller species and those occupying similar ecological niches to the harlequin have fared poorly. Research on the two-spot ladybird has revealed not just population declines but also concerning changes in genetic diversity and phenotypic characteristics. The melanic form of this species, once common in urban and industrial areas, has become increasingly rare, suggesting that harlequin competition may be selectively impacting particular phenotypes or populations. Climate change adds another layer of complexity to these dynamics. While warmer conditions may create more boom years, they also favor the harlequin ladybird, potentially accelerating its competitive dominance. The interaction between climate warming, invasive species pressure, and habitat degradation makes predicting long-term trends challenging. Recent research on UK ladybird populations has significantly advanced our understanding of ladybird population dynamics. Experimental warming studies have demonstrated how temperature increases can create mismatches between prey population growth and predator responses. When aphid populations surge rapidly under warm conditions, ladybird populations initially lag behind, allowing both to reach unusually high densities before predator-prey dynamics eventually rebalance. UK-wide monitoring has documented shifts in ladybird community composition following the harlequin invasion. Surveys comparing pre- and post-invasion periods show dramatic changes, with harlequins now dominating many habitats where native species once prevailed. This data has proven invaluable for understanding invasion impacts and informing conservation responses. Detailed phenotypic studies of the two-spot ladybird have tracked changes in the ratio of red to melanic forms across Britain. These findings suggest that competitive pressure from harlequins may be driving evolutionary changes in native species, though distinguishing evolutionary responses from simple population sorting remains challenging. Comprehensive reviews examining the interactions between climate change, biological invasions, and habitat modification have highlighted the complexity of predicting future trends. These multiple stressors don't simply add together, they interact in ways that can amplify or occasionally mitigate individual impacts, making ecosystem responses difficult to forecast. How to help ladybirds in your garden. The 2025 ladybird boom, while spectacular, underscores the critical importance of sustained monitoring efforts. Single-year population spikes can mask longer-term declines, making consistent, standardized monitoring essential for understanding true population trends. Citizen science initiatives have proven invaluable in this regard, providing data coverage far beyond what professional ecologists alone could achieve. However, monitoring must extend beyond simple abundance counts. Species-level tracking is crucial, as aggregate ladybird numbers can obscure dramatic shifts in community composition. A garden supporting abundant harlequins but no native species represents a very different conservation outcome than one supporting diverse native populations, even if total ladybird numbers appear healthy in both cases. For homeowners and land managers, several practical measures can support ladybird populations. Maintaining hedgerows, allowing areas of longer grass, and preserving dead wood and leaf litter provide essential overwintering habitats. Reducing or eliminating pesticide use, particularly broad-spectrum insecticides, allows natural pest control systems to function effectively. Native wildflower plantings support the aphid prey populations that ladybirds require while avoiding the monocultures that can lead to damaging pest outbreaks. Garden features such as bug hotels and undisturbed log piles offer additional overwintering opportunities, though their effectiveness varies considerably depending on design and placement. Perhaps most importantly, tolerating moderate aphid levels on garden plants allows ladybirds and other beneficial insects to establish and maintain populations, providing natural pest control that ultimately proves more effective than chemical interventions. Continued monitoring of invasive species impacts remains essential. While the harlequin ladybird is now firmly established and cannot realistically be eradicated, understanding its ongoing effects on native species can inform targeted conservation efforts for the most vulnerable populations and guide management decisions in sensitive habitats. The future of ladybirds in Britain. The summer of 2025 provided a vivid reminder of nature's capacity to surprise us. The spectacular ladybird populations witnessed across the UK represented a convergence of favourable conditions: warm weather, abundant prey, and good overwinter survival that allowed these beneficial insects to flourish in numbers not seen for many years. Yet as pest control professionals and conservationists, we must recognize that short-term population booms do not guarantee long-term species security. The underlying trends affecting British ladybirds remain concerning, with invasive species pressure, habitat loss, and pesticide impacts continuing to threaten native populations. The resilience demonstrated by 7-spot ladybirds offers some hope, but the plight of 2-spot and other sensitive species demands continued attention. Future trends will ultimately depend on the interplay between climate patterns, invasive species dynamics, and habitat management decisions made at scales from individual gardens to national agricultural policy. If climate change brings more years resembling 2025, we may see regular ladybird booms, but whether these benefit native species or simply entrench harlequin dominance remains uncertain. What we can say with confidence is that ladybirds, in all their spotted variety, will continue to play vital roles in British ecosystems as natural pest controllers and ecosystem health indicators. They deserve our continued observation, research, and conservation action not just in boom years but through the inevitable quieter periods that follow. The 2025 boom has captured public imagination and generated valuable data. The challenge now is to maintain that engagement and convert temporary enthusiasm into lasting conservation benefit.